What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and today's video is going to talk about how to make money on your estate. I've been getting this question quite a bit lately because of all the new players coming in, so welcome new players. Let's talk about how to get you some extra gold and fill those coffers and buy those upgrades. Of course, before we get started, make sure that you check out all the social media stuff in the box below, like Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and Discord if you're interested in any of those things. And of course, if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up and then drop a comment if you have some other things to talk about that I missed. We have an unconventional amount of tips today. It's not a top 5 or a top 10. This is in fact 7 different things we can do to get some extra money. The first is to learn the town events. So there are a few town events in the game, actually quite a few if I can be quite honest, that save you a fair bit of money. They have various ranges of saving you money, but they usually involve facilities. So there are things like Lost and Found, which is a free weapon upgrade, or Caregivers Convention, which is an incredibly powerful town event because you can use the sanitarium for all of your quirk stuff for free. And just a reminder, because people don't actually know this, that you can lock and remove quirks at the same time. So if you want to lock one positive and remove one negative, you can do that at the same time. You don't have to spend 2 different weeks in there. There are a lot of these events that do save you money in various ways, or they give you free building upgrades, which can lead to saving more money. And so it should be something you're looking out for, because there are at least 4 of them that I can think of off the top of my head that are triggered from doing medium missions. So if you go to the expedition map and you look at the medium missions, usually they are the gather or activate missions. They either come with one town event, which is bonus XP and damage in that region for the next town or expedition, and the other one is usually something saving money. So Caregivers Convention can happen naturally, or you can go to the Weald and trigger it yourself. You can also get Bumper Crop, which means you get free provisions for the next mission. So if you're hurting on gold, make sure that you're planning around these town events for when they show up in the mission selection thingy, and then you can pick which ones you want to do, and you have characters already selected and ready to go to maximize those benefits. Number 2 may seem like an obvious one, but learn what the Curio do. For instance, in every region there are various Curio that give you either gold or gems or heirlooms. Learn which ones give you what. You can look at the wiki if you really want to be lazy about it, but honestly after you play for a while you're going to have them all memorized, and then learn what can be used to activate them safely. That is the most important part. There are far too many to talk about, but in terms of monetary gain, I feel like the Ruins and the Cove actually come out with the most monetary gain. The Cove's actually very good in terms of getting money, not just from the Curio that are there, like the clams and the chests and the dead fish. There are also coral, which can be activated with medicinal herbs, and those remove negative quirks. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do there that saves you a lot of money. I will be making a provision guide at some point in the near future, so don't worry about that, but if you don't want to wait for that, make sure you either just experiment and learn what they do, or go to the wiki and find out what you need to activate these safely. Usually the wiki, especially in the Curio section, should not have any spoilers that you have to worry about, so don't trip on that, my new players. Number 3 is a big one, and probably the biggest one here besides Antiquarian, and that is torch manipulation. We affectionately call it torch manip here at Shuffle FM, but torch manipulation is dropping your light to 0 selectively to maximize loot. So the way it works with dropping your torch is you get bonus loot. I think you get up to double in terms of loot pulls from the various pools of loot that they have in the game, and when you're at darkness you get up to double the pulls. So that is a lot of potential extra gold, and if you're doing that carefully, you don't have to do the entire dungeon torchless or no light or whatever you want to call it. That's not something you have to do. You just bring extra torches. So if you normally bring 12, bring 16. If you normally bring 16, bring like 24, for instance, and then just be very aggressive about it. And usually the best time to do it is if you are in a room battle and you see a Curio that you passed on the map, either by scouting, so you know that it gives you loot, like a box or the sacks, or maybe you go into that room battle and they are guarding a treasure chest, you can just snuff right after that, and then you can get the bonus draws from the battle, and then you can also get the bonus draws from the chest. It does not matter if you drop the torch at the start of the fight, because you can safely drop it at the end of the fight. The easiest practice to do is to wait until there's one enemy left and it is either stunned or just safely about to die, and it's no threat to your party, even if it like high rolls you on speed and crits you, and then you just drop the torch and then you can get that bonus loot. If you're actually fast enough, you can snuff the torch as it dies, and then it will draw the loot right after that. So you don't even have to do it before the enemy dies, but that, that takes some experience to know that when it dies, you have to be quick enough to drop the torch. If you are playing on PC, you have to hold control and then hold shift at the same time, and then left click the light meter in the center, and it just wipes out the entire torch. I don't know what the command is on console, so if you are playing on console, just make sure that you know what that command is. When you do this successfully, you get bonus loot, and then you have more things to loot afterwards, and you don't have to worry about fighting stuff in torchless, which is very dangerous, and so you get all of that extra loot for yourself. Another part of this specific tip is that you can camp with the loot screen open from a battle. So if you go into a room fight and you are successful in the room fight, you can snuff your torch as the fight ends, get all of the bonus loot, and then you can camp with the loot window open. This is something crazy that it seems kind of not intuitive, and a lot of people don't know about it. So I get comments like every week. They see one of my videos or they see me do it in stream and they go, I didn't know you could do that. And that's a really good way of making sure that you can make space for all of your new goodies without having to throw away precious provisions. So you camp with the loot window open because you won the battle, you snuff the torch, you get all the bonus loot. So you camp, that gets rid of the campfire, and then you eat food, that gets rid of food in your inventory, and that's usually 2 spaces, and that should be enough to pick up most of the loot that you just got. Number 4, which could have been number 1, I don't know, I didn't put these in any specific order, but Antiquarian is your money printer. She is pretty fragile in the early levels, but she's definitely not worthless, and she actually gets pretty strong at the end of the game. I've already made an Antiquarian guide. If you're interested, I will link that down below as well. But the short end of it is that every Antiquarian in your party increases the gold that you can pick up by 750. So that's why you get bigger gold stacks. You don't need more than 1 anti in your party most of the time, unless you just really like the character, or you have a very cool build that you're going to be running for your team. Usually 1 is enough, especially late game. She gets pretty easy to build around because she has more power in her kit. And just the fact that she can hold extra gold means that you can just stack more stuff. The other interesting part is that because Antiquarian is in the party, she actually makes some of the lower value gems worthless. Citrines are always worthless unless you literally have no other stuff to fill your inventory with, just because they only stack up to 1250 gold. That's less than a gold stack. That's why they're not worth anything, so you should always be dumping citrines. My hate for them is not blind, it is rooted in reason. But also jades and onyx become worthless. I shouldn't say worthless, but definitely become not as valuable when anti is in the party. That means you should only be holding on to emeralds, sapphires, and rubies. The other thing that Antiquarian does is she brings you antiques, or I should say she finds antiques. She finds minor antiques very commonly. They are worth 500 each. They stack up to, I believe, 20, which is very high. Then she can also find you rare antiques, which sell for 1250. In order to find these, Antiquarian herself has to open the Curio. It can't be anyone else in the team. It can't be Highwayman. You have to select Antiquarian, and you have to use the provision that opens the Curio safely, and then she has to be the one to open it. This is a very important point that a lot of people forget. With Antiquarian in the team and torch manipulation, our previous tip here, between these 2 things, Antiquarian runs in like mid and late game can commonly get you, like, no joke, 25-30,000 gold. It is very easy to get a lot of money very quickly with this character, and even low level, I think an apprentice on medium, I think you can get about 12,000 on average if you're like really careful about it, like 12 to 15. So those are really good numbers, especially at lower levels. So Antiquarian just constantly finds you a bunch of money, which is why when I see people ask, oh, how do I get more money? People just say Antiquarian. And I know that sounds like kind of a one and done answer without a lot of nuance to it, but it's really Antiquarian who gets you a ton of money very easily. Number 5, probably no surprise either, but something that's commonly missed, is make sure that you're investing in your building upgrades that save you money. So the blacksmith, and actually I think any facility has something that lowers its cost over time, so that's really good. And you think about it now, it's like, okay, I saved 200 gold by doing this, that's whatever. But then you think about it using it for, 100 weeks if you're playing like a staging game where you have a time limit, or if you're playing your first Darkest game, it may take you 200 weeks to beat the game. And if you're saving 200 gold like every single week for 200 weeks, that adds up quite a lot, especially over a multitude of buildings. So don't skimp on those cost reductions alongside getting your normal power-up caps, like getting level 2 and 3 armor, or weapons, or skills and all that. Make sure you're always reducing the cost of facilities alongside them. Another point to this tip is when you get all your cool and awesome gold reduction cost things in all your buildings, make sure that you save all the stuff you need to do. Like if you're going to upgrade an entire team to go do a mission, make sure that you upgrade all the cost stuff first, and then maybe you just sit them to the side for a couple weeks and get some more money. But make sure that if you're going to do a lot of upgrading quickly, like if you're going to jump from apprentice to veteran or veteran to champion, make sure that you have all these gold cost reductions lined up, and then that's when you start doing all of it. Don't do it beforehand because you're just wasting money. Number 6 is districts. I can't remember what point in the game districts came out for. I don't remember if it's a vanilla upgrade or if it's Crimson Court or whatnot, but if you have districts enabled, make sure that you are paying attention to those and you're building towards them. There are quite a few that give power-ups to each bracket of heroes, or group of heroes I should say. There's like the House of the Yellow Hand for the rogues, and then there's Training Ring for the military people. So there are really cool bonuses there, but the important ones in terms of financial gain are the bank and cartographer's camp. The bank is pretty straightforward and easy to understand. It's very expensive, especially early game, so I've heard people say just rush the bank, and honestly it's not the best idea to rush the bank. Usually you want to finish off your guild hall first, unless for some reason you're just swimming in portraits and have some extra cash on hand, I guess. But for districts, the bank is very straightforward. You have 5% interest on your gold every single week. So if you have 1,000 gold, then 5% of that is you get 50. That's cool. But cartographer camp is pretty vague for its explanation, which I don't like. I wish they didn't do something like that. You know, I hope that in the next game Red Hook is pretty forthcoming with the details, because cartographer's camp just says torchlight is more beneficial. It's like, how? Cartographer's camp gives a lot of bonuses like bonus crit, scouting chance, increased chance to surprise monsters, reduced chance to be surprised yourself. All of that is very good, but the other big bonus on top of it is that you get 50% more chances at loot. This is kind of like replicating the torchless effect where you get bonus loot draws. So if you find yourself swimming in extra heirlooms and you've already built the bank, or if you don't want to build the bank right away, you can build a cartographer's camp. So you get bonus loot and then a bunch of bonus stuff on top of it to help you in battles. Another district that actually saves you a lot of money is the granary. So the granary gives you a small amount of free food each week. The amount is listed as 4 to 10, and that saves you a fair bit of money over a playthrough. So if you think about it, I believe food costs 75 gold per like 1 unit. So if you get 10 free food from the granary, that's 750 gold you don't have to spend. Usually it's about 6 or 8 in my experience, but that is pretty good. That saves you a lot of money, you know, just even over like 40 weeks. So if you have the bank, you have the cartographer's camp, and you don't quite know if you want to build one of the hero-specific districts, then build the granary. Save some food, get bonus healing while eating as well. The final tip for this video is if you need to make some money, especially quickly, then just sell trinkets. Sell trinkets that you feel are worthless and they're not serving their purpose, or maybe you found some power creep versions of older trinkets, like you have the survival guide, but then you found ancestors maps, so just sell the survival guides, who cares at that point? And there are a lot of trinkets to cover. There are some even very rare trinkets that are worth selling, but other quick tips are like if they lower your speed or your accuracy, they're usually not worth keeping, so you should probably just sell them. But there are a couple of very rare trinkets out there like Holy Orders for Crusader, and then also if you have, or I should say if you're playing in highlight the entire time, so you always have your torchlight over like 75 or over 50, then you don't need the low light trinkets. So you don't need Moon Ring or Moon Cloak or Dark Bracer and stuff like that, or Dark Tamarine. You can just sell those. If you're never going to play in low light settings, then you don't need to carry the low light trinkets. Make sure you sell them and earn yourself a bit of extra money. If you need a full list on what trinkets are worth selling, I made a trinket tier list that is pretty extensive. I talk about every single trinket. I will link it down below. And you don't have to sit through the entire thing. If you really just want to see what trinkets are worth selling, I specifically made a sell tier for that tier list, and you can just skip to the end of the video and look at which ones are worth selling. Alright y'all, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Some other video ideas coming up is I'm going to talk about the defenses in the game. So I'm going to talk about dodge and prod and HP and resists. I don't quite know when that's coming. I just like literally started writing it. I only have like a couple lines for it. I've got other things coming up like a supply guide, or I should say provision guide, And people have been asking about bosses, so I'm going to do a quick guide to all bosses. I'm going to try and have that be like literally 5 minutes. It's going to be kind of memey, but it's going to be like a quick, just 2 lines for every single boss in the game. And then I'm still working on DLC guides, and I have the Plague Doctor specific character guide coming at some point in the future. Probably like 3 weeks at this point. I don't quite know. As always, thanks for watching. Join Discord if you have not and you want to come talk about stuff, and then all the other social media stuff in the box below. Do all the standard YouTube stuff that every YouTuber tells you to do, because it really does help satiate Algorithm Chan and keeps her recommending the videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.